And
You got that right.
got that right. And go live on Facebook.
And if you're not catching this podcast live, then welcome to the replay.
We're grateful that you found us for yourself.
Grateful.
We're grateful for you that you found this for you.
And that is the truth.
So great day.
Yeah, great Thursday.
Steve, we're back for another episode of A Party at the Summit. We don't peak. We just keep going from summit to summit. And today,
we got some great value for you today, folks.
And if you don't believe us, listen in.
Listen in.
Listen, we're going to talk to you today and share, just talk and share. I don't like to say we're going to talk to you. We're going to talk at you. No, we're just going to share our feelings today. Each week we come up with something, and it's usually like a spur of the moment. I have a conversation with Steve and like, what's on your heart? Learned helplessness came up. Bam. And so I spent the last day just kind of pondering what learned helplessness is. And I actually looked it up in the dictionary.
Brilliant, by the way. I never looked it up before. So that was awesome.
So Google, I actually said, Google, learned helplessness. If you ever want to know something, just ask Google because he'll tell you. A condition in which a person suffers from a sense of powerlessness arising from a traumatic event or persistent failure to succeed, an underlying cause of depression. And like that just hit that, like brought it all together, Steve. Everything that I've heard you coach and teach on this about learned helplessness and wow, powerlessness. That what a powerful word. So talk to us a little bit about learned helplessness.
Well, I think this topic really inspired me, at least when you asked, hey, what should we talk about this week? And we can go in so many different directions, but I've been noticing lately how people feel lost. Like they still feel lost in their current situation, their circumstances, but most importantly, I can identify when people feel lost in themselves. And so we have to take a step back and sort of like, what's the origin? What's the catalyst for all this lost feeling or feeling helpless? And we started having this conversation back when the pandemic was originated that, hey, if you feel helpless, become helpful. And we've created this like fire pit of inspiration and influence. And when the right people show up, they're ready to take action in their own life, but it's not about taking the action, it's about who they need to become in the process. Here's the thing. We care, and I'm putting myself in this as well, because I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm going to be completely honest. Like I've always been the one that was overly concerned about what everybody else thought in how I was going to present myself and how I was going to deliver information and content and things. It wasn't until I realized that nobody controls my feelings, my thoughts, my emotions other than me. It's not the external factor.
And how many people out there, raise your hand when you're watching this, people pleasing? All right, I'm in that club too, recovering people pleaser. You're not alone. And you're right, Steve. I've learned through your coaching as well to how to shift the attention. And it's up to us to either sit in that feeling of inadequacy and powerlessness or move out of it. But like, how do you move? How do you do that?
Yeah. Joyce Meyer said something, it's a quote, I'll probably get it wrong here, but she says something to the extent that you don't have to be or choose to be negative in the situation that was given to you. It's like me handing you a cactus. You don't have to sit on the cactus. You can make the pivot. You can make the shift. You can actually alter the course of how you think and what you believe about the situation, because we're human beings, the way we choose to be. So let's bring something that could be taken away from this conversation, because we are way too concerned about what other people think about us. Like that's just sort of been conditioned. That's a cultural, societal thing where we have to have it all right. We have to make sure we have the approval or validation from other people in order to move forward with something. We give our power, we give away all this power to emotionally affect us. Think about that. And you use the word powerless, right? That's in the definition of what Google has termed as learned helplessness. Now we take it a step further. We dig back, we peel back the layers of the onion. We go deeper in this process. But what do you really believe? What do you really believe about other people's opinion about you, about your life, about your situation, your circumstance? And we talk a lot about health, fitness, and wellness in our environment, in our community. People get so set back because as they get more experienced, AKA they, when you get older, I say more experience. It's not old, as you get more experience. They look and reflect on their health, their well-being. They look at, their current circumstances, and they're like, they get so down and depressed. Like there's a borderline depression involved in that. Mm-hmm. Your healthy future is not defined by your past. Your past doesn't equal your future unless you continue and choose to live in it. So what we want to do is we want to bring to the surface some things that I want you to, and we want you to reflect on today so that you can make an impact on your beliefs, on your thoughts, on the feelings and emotions that you hold to be true about yourself. And that comes from a place of learned helplessness. As a matter of fact, learned helplessness was coined back in the 1960s by some scientists that were doing some studies with dogs that were caged. Dogs would try to jump out of the cage. They want to escape out of the cage. And the scientists, or whoever the practitioners were, they would shock the dogs lightly. They would shock them. And the dogs would learn that they can't jump out of the cage, because every time they would try to jump out, they would get shocked. So they eventually just stopped trying to jump out of the cage. How many times have we been told, oh, you can't do that? Are you crazy? Like, you're not going to start that business. You're not going to lose that weight. You've tried that how many times? And so we get conditioned by the opinions of other people. And here's another analogy of learned helplessness. Remember the circus? I mean, they're very far and few in between. The elephant.
I was just thinking of the elephant with the tether and how strong an elephant is.
Well, when they're small, they're not that strong. And they start that when they're small. So we get indoctrinated with beliefs and thoughts and our identity at a very early young age. And we're not going to talk about identity here. We've talked about that in past episodes. Go back and listen to those. But a baby elephant, they do get tethered to that stake at the circus. And the baby elephant's going to try to pull away, and it can't get away because it's not strong enough to break away from that rope. And eventually, as the elephant even continues growing, it just stops trying to pull the rope because it's been conditioned to knowing that it just can't get away from the rope. So it could be a giant 1,000-pound elephant, and it chooses still not to pull away from the rope because it has the thought process in its head. It has that learned helplessness in the lifestyle of which the elephant lives now after so many years. So think about how that relates in your own life. People are lost, and they are lost in themselves. They're lost in their thinking. They're trapped in their habits, and they get confused. They get frustrated how to get out. So let's talk about like how I define learned helplessness and where I go with my coaching, where I go with my trainings. And I'm here to encourage everyone here to drop what we're calling learned helplessness. It's believing that other people control our lives, that we're helpless. And other people, according to the title of this podcast, however you're listening to this right now, other people do not control you and your life. That's called learned helplessness. We feel like we're helpless because somehow we've determined that how people treat us or how they talk to us or whether they do or don't give us opportunity is going to determine where we go in our life. Other people don't control you in your life. I'll say it probably 100 times. Well, maybe not that many. We only have 22 minutes. I'll say it 10 times because I want this to sink in. It's called learned helplessness. So from a standpoint of thinking on this, it's just a negative, flawed, faulted belief. Other people don't control you in your life. They can't control your thinking. They can't control your beliefs. Other people can't control your emotions. And they certainly can't control how you feel. So, think about all the times that you've looked and have thought about being helpless. Most of the time it's because of an external situation or circumstance. So-and-so didn't help me here. They did this to me. I didn't catch a break here. I didn't catch a break there. My Kajabi didn't allow me to do the email sequences the way I wanted it to. Right? Inside joke.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So that's where you have to think is people do not do things to you. I promise you. And once we can really understand that, we can literally alter the course of our thinking, our beliefs, our attitude, how we choose to show up in our own life. And that's going to alter the course of your life. So you've learned a lot from this, Gail. I know you have, because you're living it in your own existence.
Well, it's an ongoing process. I still get those emotional feelings of, like, if somebody doesn't say something or says something to me, and it's sitting in that moment, it's sitting in that feeling, it's sitting in that emotion, and learning to shift and move away, and how I react, or do I react to a situation or respond to the situation. And recently, this week, my husband says, there's something just doesn't smell right in the house. And I went and bought a candle. That was how I was going to fix it. I just thought it was kind of stale. Well, it was our freezer. Our freezer that sat right over in the corner had gone out at probably last couple of weeks. And so everything in there was thawed, and there was at least 100 pounds of meat in there. Imagine that. Like the smell was so horrific. But you have two choices. That's not going to go away. The situation is not going away. It happened. Yep. How are we going to respond and react to that? So together we found some gloves and we put them on, and then it was like disgusting. And in the process of taking care of the situation, there was frustration, there was anger. It's like, all the money that was wasted in the the stink, and now the freezer's broken, like all of those things. But at the end of the day, at the cleanup, what Steve said to me was, wow, just imagine if that would have happened while we were gone for 5 months. Mm-hmm. And we came home. And so perspective. Yeah, it wasn't an ideal situation, but you know what? We're going to have fresh meat now. All that hamburger buried down in the freezer for the last year, gone. It was no choice, but it happened. And so how you respond to something, knowing, and there's a statement we use, life happens for us, not to us. And if you can grasp that and really believe it, even in the seemingly negative situations that come up, because something might happen that it's a negative situation in your life. Maybe someone gets really sick or dies, or that's the extreme. The freezer breaks, you lose all your meat. But you don't know, maybe for several months, or you may never know, but it's just a feeling that if life happens for me, not to me, I'm going to take this situation and I'm going to move. So Steve, there's a lot of people that don't know how to move their emotion to a more positive response and outcome. And you work with us in the transformation method on a daily, weekly basis to help us to understand that. So kind of direct us a little, direct the people out there that are listening, like, yeah, but, the people that say, yeah, but Steve, this is like, this happened. How, like, you expect me to have positive reinforcing ideas around this? How do I move my attention to something that's going to get me out of that depressed emotional state?
Yeah, great question. Let me address what you just said, where we do sit a lot in the moment of life's happening for us, not to us. And I want you to imagine, what if you truly believed that everything that was happening to you in your life right now is happening for you, not to you. You don't go through things, you grow through things. And most people are going to permeate, and they're just going to sit in those feelings of anger and frustration. They're not going to let it just affect them for that moment. It's going to carry on for the rest of the day, probably days, if not weeks. And they're banging their head on the wall. They're like, God, why is this happening to me? Why is my life suck? I'll tell you why. Because you are where your attention is. And if your attention is going to be on all the feelings that are going to serve you anger, frustration, irritation, then you get more of that in your life. You attract more of that emotion and feeling and experience. You are where your attention is. Let's make this practical for a quick moment, and let's take it away. Let's take it to a place of fitness. Somebody that is unhealthy, someone that's overweight, how they would describe that. Maybe they've been diagnosed obese. Maybe they're hypertensive. Where is their attention, Gail?
On being obese and hypertensive.
Their attention is going to be getting home from work, sitting on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
Getting home from work or from wherever they're at, or maybe they're just working from home, and their thoughts keep on going to, hey, what little Debbie snack can I go get in the pantry? Ho-hos, cupcakes, ding dongs. They're thinking, fast food. Their attention is to unhealthy foods and being lethargic and doing inactivity throughout the day. Even if their mind sometimes will gravitate saying, I need to take that walk. I should be eating that salad instead of the burger. You are where your attention is. The key is moving your attention and then keeping your attention there. How long are you holding your attention to what's going to better serve you? So let's look at a healthy person. What is a healthy person? Where's their attention at?
When am I going to get that walk in today?
Yeah, getting the movement in. They're thinking, where am I scheduling my healthy meals throughout the day? How am I preparing my water requirements for the day? How am I bookending my water? How much water am I drinking in the morning? Where am I drinking it at night? Hey, what great book am I going to be reading when I start unwinding for the evening? That's what healthy people, that's where their attention's at. So for people to say, well, how do I just shift my mind from going negative to positive? Move your attention to the things that are going to be more positive in your life. Here's what I will say. I will tell you this. Every day we face adversity. We have challenges, we have obstacles, and through the seed of every single adversity that we face, there is something planted that's great and positive that you can do with it. Every single thing, every situation. Question is, how would life unfold for you if you started adapting this belief? The belief that through every adversity, there's a seed that's planted in that adversity that's designed for you to do something great with it and positive. This isn't no woo-woo like, oh, I'm going to, always hyperactive optimism. That's how I choose to live my life, but look at the quality of life I live. So that's where people need to start from. And then once I can meet people where they're at, we can find out, hey, where are you challenged? And with that challenge, hey, what's the solution for that challenge? Well, I know I need to be moving my body more. Fantastic. I know I need to be waking up earlier because I'm scrambling in the morning because I keep hitting my snooze alarm. Well, let's put our attention to where that's at. Let's put attention to creating those habits that are going to create a great discipline for you to work through that and grow through that. So that's where we start. And it really comes down to, if you think about it, and most people don't talk about this. We do, but most people don't. It's confidence. It's self-confidence that we should live through. And self-confidence is simply just the habit and process of keeping the promises we make to ourselves. If you're living a life that is of lack or frustration or fear or worry, chances are your confidence is not there. Well, of course I'm confident. Like, I sell a ton at work. I'm like the greatest closer there is. I have lots of friends. My relationships are great. That's fantastic. I'm talking about your personal integrity with yourself. What are the things that you're telling yourself you're going to be doing throughout the day that's going to serve you and elevate the quality of your life? But for some reason or another, life's gone sideways, excuses start flowing, and you don't do those things. Thus goes your self-confidence and our esteem. It's down. On the surface, things look great. You're doing all the things you told everybody else in your world that you're going to do. Learned helplessness, I believe, is a direct correlation to your level of confidence.
Powerful.
If you do not have a level of confidence that is one of high integrity, then you will live by default to a sense of learned helplessness, where you do care more about the opinions of other people and how you're working your life than you actually living your true purpose. Consider that. So that's where I would start. Great question. Where do people start moving to? Where's your attention? Because you are where your attention is.
I think that statement alone in this podcast is what everybody should take away and just really ponder today as you're going through your day and a feeling comes up and you pay attention to that feeling. And if that feeling serves you, like, live in that for a moment, really enjoy it. If the feeling doesn't serve you, see how quickly you can move that. Our friend Deborah, she gives herself 90 seconds.
Love it.
90 seconds to move that attention. If that feeling and that emotion is not serving her, she moves her attention to something that does. And we've seen tremendous results in Deborah's life just with that one thing. So you're one small commitment away from unlocking your life. One small commitment. You do that for a period of time and it leads to another. It builds your confidence so that you can, what else can I do? And you try something else and that builds your confidence. Well, what else can I do? And, we don't peak. We go from summit to summit. So when you can grasp this concept and move your attention to where it serves you, then climb that mountain, head to the summit, then find the next path and go up that path. And you've got it. You have one life to live. You deserve to live the life that you desire. And Steve, you always say, you are living the life you deserve because you've created that life right now. But if there's a life you desire to live, then go live it. Make a determination today that I'm moving my attention to things that serve me at a higher level. And when I serve myself at a higher level, I can certainly serve other people at a higher level.
And that comes along with two other things that I'm thinking of right now that's going to tie directly to our conversation is, first of which is, remember, life is happening for you, not to you, even though it may not seem like it at the time. But in hindsight, it will always come to fruition where you remember that painful moment of that situation or circumstance that just was so less than ideal. But you wouldn't be growing the way you would if you didn't. Like, you maybe think about a broken relationship. You break up with somebody. Think about maybe that business deal that didn't go through. Think about, you know, the COVID. Think about the pandemic. Like, oh, I was just starting to get my stride with my fitness, the gym. I was going to the gym 3-4 days per week. And hey, life's happening for you. It's testing your resiliency. It's testing your persistence. It's testing your authenticness to, do you really want what you're telling yourself you want? And the second thing, or the final thing that we got to remember, is that other people learned helplessness. Other people do not control you in your life. They cannot control your thinking. They do not control your feelings. They don't control your emotions. And they certainly do not control your beliefs that guide you in the quality of your life each and every day. You make that decision.
Bam. Mic drop. On that note, we're past our 22 minutes. We thank you for being here and listening.
Oh, we do.
And stay tuned for next week because it'll be great.
It always is.
It always is. Whatever comes to our minds comes from our hearts, delivered right to you. So thanks for joining us today.
If you're ready to go, say let's go and make it a day worth repeating.
Let's go.
Woo!
We're out.